Hello and hello. Thank you for joining me, especially you, Wilma, because Wilma sent in this video right here by Rue Boss called The Basic Law. She says, in this short video, you will learn about the fascinating history of the Germany current constitution and why it's not called the Constitution. It's called the Basic Law, I guess. Which I like that name. It's pretty much what a constitution is, huh? The basic law. I'm quite interested to know about the German constitution or basic law, because here in the United States, the Constitution is quite fundamental to how we operate. It's like the law of laws, you know. Every law has to be constitutional. That's what it's all about. So I don't know anything about the German Constitution. But now I will, or at least in 6 minutes I will. Let's do it.
This year,
well, depending on how often I hit pause and jabber, maybe it'll be like 10 minutes.
We celebrate the 70th birthday of the German
happy birthday, German Basic Law!
Law, which came into force on the 24th
Wait, when's this video from? 4 years? Oh, okay, so you're 74 now. Yeah.
of May, 1949. But only in the American, British and French zones, which formed the Federal Republic of Germany. The Soviet zone was the German Democratic Republic, which wasn't democratic, but it had its own constitution. And the Basic Law is a constitution. It's not called a constitution, but that is still what it is. There's no law anywhere saying that a constitution must be called the Constitution. And this one happens...
That's true. And if that was a law, where would that law be? Because it couldn't be in the Constitution, could it? That would be like redundant, sort of. I don't know, that would be some kind of catch-22.
To be called the Basic Law for the Federal Republic of Germany. Even so, its name is a bit of a legal fudge. Back in 1949, the Parliamentary Council, which was the body responsible for drafting the new constitution, was of the opinion that for certain legal purposes, the new Federal Republic of Germany was actually a continuation of the German Empire. And this posed a bit of a problem because it meant, under the rules of the German Empire, that the new constitution would have to be accepted by a government that represented all Germans. And with so many of them on the wrong side of the Iron Curtain, that was not going to be possible. So instead, these new constitutional laws were given the title Basic Law, a translation of the Latin phrase Lex Fundamentale.
But why even bother being like, it's just like literally you're just making up a different word. It's like the most silly loophole you could have come up with. Like, oh guys, we're not allowed to make a constitution. So we're just gonna have to make a constitution, but not call it that. Like, really? Is that how the world works? You can just change the name and that's all you need to do?
And everybody pretended that this somehow made it okay. Article 146 states that this basic law remains in force until such a time as the German nation adopts a new constitution. Now that Germany has reunified...
So it was almost meant to be temporary?
This has led to a conspiracy theory, according to which the Basic Law is not valid, and Germany has reverted to the pre-war constitution. This idea, of course, is complete The Basic Law has now been accepted by members of the Bundestag representing...
How many people watching subscribe to that conspiracy theory? Because I'm considering it. I don't know the details, but I'm interested. You know, maybe since the Constitution, you know, now that it's Germany's reunited, the last Constitution that was all agreed upon by every German, as you need to do, was the the German Empire Constitution. I like this conspiracy.
All Germans, and that is all that is legally necessary. There was never a requirement for a referendum, and the reason it's still called the Basic Law is quite simply that there was no point in changing the name. It is the German Constitution. The Basic Law was an important...
That just shows how silly it was in the first place to even need to change the name. Like, now that it is the Constitution, you didn't even bother renaming it the Constitution because there's no difference. There is no difference between the Constitution and the Basic Law.
Step for Germany, which was having to come to terms with the destruction wrought by the Third Reich. It was very important.
I never heard a German pronounce that word, Reich. I mean, people here say the Third Reich. But this guy said the third, or this guy's not German. I don't know what this guy is, to be honest. He sure knows a lot about German history, but where is he from?
In terms of the destruction wrought by the Third Reich.
I can't roll my R's.
It was very important for the Basic Law that it protected the rights of people, which the Nazis had simply ignored, and also it was important that it couldn't simply be bypassed. One of the important steps in the Nazis' power grab was a misuse of an article in the old constitution. Under Article 48, the president was empowered to issue emergency decrees without consent of Parliament.
That always seems like it's the most obvious loophole in any constitution or laws, because we have stuff like that here in the United States where it's like all the balances of power just go out the window if the president decides that it's an emergency, and it's up to his discretion, what's an emergency, what's not. All of a sudden, poof, just do whatever he wants. I mean, that's not actually fully true, but there's truth to that. And it seems kind of crazy. At the same time, it kind of seems necessary because Congress is so slow to act. You do need a quicker mechanism sometimes.
Pressuring Hindenburg to issue such a decree, the Nazis were able to suspend several very important constitutional rights. Unsurprisingly, therefore, this article is nowhere to be found in the Basic Law, and it wasn't until 1968 that government was given the power even to declare a state of emergency. Additionally, the Basic Law includes...
That is very interesting to me because I've always thought of that, not knowing the history with the Nazis and stuff and Hitler using that loophole. I've always thought that was strange, like the whole idea of a state of emergency. Because that basically, the whole point of a state of emergency, like I just said, is to bypass all these things that you have in place to keep the people safe and free.
An eternity clause. Article 79 states that certain articles can never be changed or abolished. This includes the first 20 articles which deal with basic human rights, and all articles governing the relationship between the states and the federal government. In fact, not only can those articles never be changed, but any new constitution that replaces the Basic Law must have those articles in it, including the eternity clause itself.
That's an important note.
So
you can't just bring over the ones that said you need to bring over and then say, oh, this new one doesn't have that part that says we can't get rid of those, so we're getting rid of them. That does make sense. It's also kind of funny, though. Constitutions in general are kind of funny to me. It's very fascinating. I mean, it's just essentially just words on a piece of paper. Like, no one actually has to follow it. Like, if if for whatever reason you guys decided, hey, we actually do want to change those 20 or one of those 20 rules, the only thing stopping you would be a piece of paper with the words on it. But that ends up, causing a lot of people abide by those rules that are there in place, and especially after they've been there for so long, it really does cement itself in place. Am I making sense? I don't know.
As long as Germany continues to exist, so must those parts of the Basic Law. The Basic Law was...
here's an idea. You guys already did this by changing the name of the Constitution. Just change the name of Germany. That way, you can get away with whatever you want because Germany no longer exists. Just name it something else.
finally agreed on the 8th of May 1949 and was then ratified by all the West German states, except for one. Bavaria actually voted against the Basic Law, complaining that it gave the federal government too much power. However, the Bavarian government also voted that if 2/3 of the state ratified it, then Bavaria would accept it. And so, with just a bit of reluctance on Bavaria's part, the new Basic Law was signed on the 23rd of May and came into effect the following day, 70 years ago.
Wow. That is some fascinating history. Looks like I jabbered on for 10 minutes, just like I thought. Yeah, absolutely fascinating. Oh man, I have to watch this next. Germany's Basic Law, because honestly, he didn't dive into almost any of the details of the Constitution, the Basic Law, just the history about why it's called the Basic Law, which was interesting in and of itself, but now I'm curious about the actual laws. So subscribe if you feel like it, because I'm definitely watching this tomorrow. Germany's Basic Law. Or another video. This one looks good. You know, looks good at a cursory glance. Bertelsmann Foundation. It was a foundation. They got to know what they're talking about. Anyway, thank you for watching. And thank you for this video, Boss. Go check him out, link down below. Great video. And happy birthday. German Basic Law, 74 years old. Not today or anything. It's not actually your birthday. Unless that would be highly coincidental. No, it looks like May 6th. May 6th. So I missed it. Next year, 75. I'll be sure to celebrate May 6th. Next year, you'll be 75. I'll be there. Goodbye.